Week 12 in the Always Sunny in Sayreville League. I'm okay. I'm alright. This is the weekly update. Okay, first things first. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a good day. Secondly, sorry that there was no update last week. For those of you who may not know, I got really sick and I am better now. This was last week's update right here. Hope you like it. It was hilarious. Wrote it out. I never got a chance to record it, but here it was. So there you go. All right, welcome to the last game of the regular season. You made it. Most of you. So as you probably already know, 5 out of the 6 playoff spots are already filled. We're not exactly sure where everybody's going to land up, but we do know who's already in. With the win this weekend, Shower Hug clinched the number 2 division title. This is the first division title in Shower Hug history, and this win ensures them no lower than the number 2 seed in the playoffs and guarantees them a first round bye. And even though they lost the game against Shower Hug and any hopes of a division title, Preventable Losses secured themselves a playoff spot with a record of 6-6. This is the second playoff appearance for the Preventable Losses franchise, as the annexation of Puerto Rico actually played in the championship game last year. Also backing into the playoffs this weekend with a loss is the Golden Showers. With a record of 7-5, the Golden Showers have secured themselves the first playoff berth in franchise history. And speaking of last year, interestingly enough, Toddler Fight Club was involved in a tie which came down to the last day, and after leading the division all year, lost the number 1 seed on the last day to Team Blumpkin. Well, this year, Toddler Fight Club was at the top of the division once again, and once again they're locked in a tie at 9-3, this year with tight end to wide receiver. Now, Toddler Fight Club owns a pretty big points lead over tight end to wide receiver. In fact, he owns a pretty big points lead over everybody right now. So if he ends up tied at the end of the season with tight end to wide receiver, or Shower Hug for that matter, Toddler Fight Club will secure the number 1 seed in the playoffs and a first round bye. However, if Toddler Fight Club loses and tight end to wide receiver can pull out a victory, they'll lock up the number 1 seed, stealing it from Toddler Fight Club for the second straight year. Now, in addition to all that craziness among teams that are already in the playoffs, we've got ourselves a pretty interesting fight for that last playoff spot. With a 2.5-point victory this past weekend, the Gotham Rogues put themselves in the driver's seat in the race for that final spot. Now, the Gotham Rogues are no stranger to this position. As we've noted before, they were the closest team to making the playoffs last year without actually making it. He got 27.7 points out of Brandon Marshall, who's pretty much on fire right now, and 26.4 points out of a resurgent Maurice Jones-Drew. Now, RG3 took a dump all over himself, only putting up a 5.4, and the Chicago defense put up a -4. But it was still enough for Narc to win the game and keep his playoff hopes in his own hands. Like I said, Gotham Rogues win, and they're in. Now, if they lose, now that's a different story altogether. As it stands right now, we have 3, 4, and 8 teams. Rusty Strombone, Team Blumpkin, and What You Talking About Hillis. They're all fighting for survival this weekend, and any one of them is ready to pounce should the Gotham Rogues falter and go to 5-8. Now, if that happens and we have to go to a points tiebreaker, well, it's going to be very interesting. There's not a lot of separation between these teams right now, and the point total from this week might actually play a major factor in who makes it and who misses it. Only 0.4 of a point separate Team Blumpkin from What You Talking About Hillis, and Rusty Strombone actually has like 30 more points than the Gotham Rogues do. Now, so far we've discussed 9 out of the 10 teams in our league. 9 out of 10 teams are alive for the playoffs on the last day. As a commissioner and as a competitor, I think that's pretty much the best you could ask for. But that's easy for me to say because I get to put my feet up for the next 2 weeks. But I've got good news and I've got bad news. The bad news is Open Slot is once again this week's GOAT. But the good news is this is definitely guaranteed to be the last time that Open Slot is this week's GOAT, because Open Slot is the first team that's officially been eliminated from playoff contention in the Always Sunny in Sayreville League. That's right. The Open Slot was the team on the other end of that 2.5-point Gotham Rogues win. And that 9th loss knocks him out of the playoffs officially. Now, I'm pretty sure that Matt's also the lowest scoring team in the league, so even if he's tied, at 4-9 with some other teams, he should have the first pick in the draft. But honestly, he's probably going to score like 250 points this week, and lose that too. Now, if the open slot had won, we would have had 5 4-8 teams going into this week, and it would have been completely crazy. But, you know, what are you going to do? The open slot pretty much struggled from wire to wire. His first pick in the draft was Trent Richardson, and his third pick in the draft was David Wilson. Now, that alone is a bad enough hole for any fantasy owner to have to try and climb out of. But when you add in the 6th pick of Danny Amendola and the 8th pick of Ahmad Bradshaw, that's a recipe for disaster that not many people are coming back from. Injuries and ineffectiveness haunted the open slot all season long, and now his season is officially over. And for that, the open slot is this week's GOAT. Alright guys, key matchups. Like I said before, the Gotham Rogues have a pretty big game this week. If they can beat the Golden Showers, they're in the playoffs no matter what anybody else does. Now, if the Showers win, they lock up the 4th seed in the playoffs, and they start up a big shitstorm between a whole bunch of teams who might be tied at 5-8, which could be good for the Rusty Strombone considering they hold the points lead in case everybody gets tied. Now, the Strombone is facing a Shower Hug squad that doesn't really have a whole lot to play for this week, but it's still not going to be an easy road to hoe. Did I say hoe? No homo. A couple other games to keep an eye on are the ones between the Toddler Fight Club and What You Talking About Hillis, which features a 9-3 team fighting for the division title and a 4-8 team fighting for survival, and the one between tight end to wide receiver and Team Blumpkin, which features exactly the same thing. Alright guys, that's it. Week 12 update over. Remember to set your lineups, remember that it ain't over until it's over, or unless your name is Matt, and remember that if you get eliminated from the playoffs, don't make waiver claims. And I just might see you in the playoffs, where it's always sunny.